I thought we were cool, you know? I thought we were so cool. You know, sometimes we put cards up for you guys to vote for the Retro Review series, and sometimes me and Carl, I'll be honest, we put cards up and we go, hey, that card is awesome. We hope it gets some votes. We were doing cards in the UK for UFC 304. You know, we could have had Rampage, Dan Henderson unifying the Pride and UFC belts, BJ Penn defending against Joe Daddy Stevenson. Instead, we got UFC Fight Night Bisping versus Silva, which has the record tied with 2 other cards for most decisions on a card. But listen, I'm a professional, so enough talk. Let's get to the fights. UFC Fight Night Bisping vs. Silva took place on February 27th, 2016 at the O2 Arena in London, England, and it had an attendance of just under 17,000 people with a $2 million live gate. John Gooden, who's always great, Dan Hardy, they're the 2 commentators we got today, but we're done with the preamble. Let's see if these fights are as bad as I remember. So, let's open up the main card with Brad Pickett, Francisco Rivera. Early on, dudes are throwing with almost like a left clothesline from Rivera, nearly stunning Pickett. Pickett lands 2 good hooks to the body, but eats a shot on the way out. Rivera is starting to land and sits him down with a big left hook. Rivera, clearly the power advantage, big hooks, nearly hurts Pickett, and Pickett just mentally invades. Both men go down briefly, and after they disengage, they touch gloves with respect, and I gotta be honest with you, that round was probably better than the entire prelims combined. Both guys trading hooks again. Tons of fun boxing back and forth, but at the 3-minute mark, Pickett gets a great takedown. Rivera does pop up. Pickett's doing well, making Rivera miss and making him pay for it, and it has Rivera go ahead and change levels for a brief takedown. Eventually, we're back on the feet. Final round, we see Pickett go for a level change much faster than prior rounds, him getting it after some work against the cage. Both guys going for low kicks, throwing slower punches as fatigue has started to set in. Rivera gets a takedown, but Pickett gets up quickly, only to take a big counter right from Rivera right back. Pickett goes for another takedown, and he gets him up for a good slam, brings him right down. Big exclamation at this mark in the fight, and with this, the fight ends. Pickett gets a unanimous decision win. Super fun fight. It actually reminded me of like the old WEC days where you could just have like a random fight on a card, and it's like gonna be a blast, gonna be a good amount of fun. And because of that nostalgia for WEC, give it an 8.5. Next up, we have the unbeaten British Tom Brees, who is looking to take that home field advantage to get a win over Japanese veteran K Nakamura. This fight, remember how the last fight was good? This fight it isn't good at all. Early on, Nakamura goes for a clinch against a taller fighter with a good body lock. After a bunch of nothing of holly-homing back and forth, ref breaks it up. Then another clinch happens. Brees holds Nakamura in a moment with some knees, and they break up again. I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing happens on the feet, really. Some clinches here and there, and it's not a good round at all. Second round, Brees is trying to get a left straight going, and they clinch up again. Nakamura gets the fight to the ground again. Brees does a reversal after a bit. On the ground, a bunch of nothing happens with Brees controlling the top until near the end when he tries for a submission, with Nakamura avoiding it and landing on top for the end of the round. Final round, Brees is trying to work the boxing with him defending a takedown from Nakamura. Brees is on top. He eventually starts going for some leg lock attempts after some control, and near the end of the round, he goes for a reverse triangle. 0 dice here. Boring fight with Tom Brees getting a unanimous decision win. 3 out of 10. Let's just move on. Oh, it's the co-main event already. We have middleweights with Gard Mousasi, who happens to be Jack Slack's favorite fighter, taking on renowned jiu-jitsu and heavy-handed Dallas Ladies. First round, Leches is just going for a double leg instantly. Just trying to make it work, trying to get going, and after a minute and a half, Mousasi does get out. At range, Mousasi's using the jab and some low kicks. This happens for a very long time, and eventually Ladies ends up going for a takedown. Mousasi defends it well. Ladies tries to pull guard. Mousasi just gets up clean. Second round, ton of the same from the first round. Mousasi picking Ladies apart on the feet with jabs, an occasional straight right. Leches is trying to get some takedowns here and there. They're not anywhere to be found, though. Easy 2 rounds from Mousasi. Third round, hey, at least there's some aggression from Ladies with big hooks before trying to clinch up and pull guard. Mousasi defends well on the guard before having a chance to create space, jump back to the feet. Mousasi having a chance to pour it on the tiring Ladies, especially after another desperation guard pull. Mousasi, though, he's really content to just lay on top and control the round. to get a dominating decision that the crowd hates. And he hates the crowd for it. 4 out of 10. I guess it's better than the last fight. You know what? Change that. Change my mind. I have it written down 4 out of 10 on the script. It's a 3.5. Slightly better than the last fight. Last fight, I had the benefit of knowing going into the fight it was going to be bad. Mousasi, I always hold out a little bit of hope. So that disappointment knocks it down to 0.5. But now we're at the main event, the reason this card was picked and why it was talked about. Anderson, the Spider Silva, is back. You see, the last time we saw Anderson fighting, he was circling Nick Diaz as Nick Diaz was asking him to paint him like one of his French girls for a lackluster decision win. After that fight, he popped hot. But now he's taking on Michael Bisping, and he was known as like a top gatekeeper for all that. Never got the title shot for a very long time. And this matchup that he always wanted with Anderson Silva never came because Anderson was on top for so long. Early on, Anderson is circling well. Bisping's doing well, though, to pressure him with footwork. Silva's getting annoyed. And he starts being the aggressor, something he hates doing. Bisping is still the one to land more in this boxing, while Anderson lands a kick here and there. Near the end of the round, Bisping stuns Anderson, and they both fire back at will. Second round, early on, Anderson's getting pressure to the cage again. Bisping landing here and there with feints and combinations allow him to catch shots on the very elusive Silva. A huge left overhand off a feinted jab stumbles Anderson. Then another couple of shots drop the legend. Bisping moves in for the kill, but Anderson survives the round. Third round, Bisping is just in charge. Fighting Anderson Silva was always about taking away the head movement and footwork. Make him think. Near the end of the round, Anderson's putting the pressure on with some good shots. Bisping's mouthpiece actually goes flying, and when he asks Herb Dean if he can put it back in, Anderson hits him with the perfect jumping knee. Anderson starts celebrating. He thinks he's won, and Herb Dean is telling everybody, hey, this fight's not over. Bisping's out. Bisping's out. What makes this fight so talked about is the fact that it continues and what happens afterwards. Bisping is still out on his feet, just autopiloted, going with his game plan, and it's working. He's putting pressure on Anderson Silva. Bisping is giving Anderson no space, landing constantly against the bobbing and weaving of Silva. Anderson starts to really land, but he gets knocked back when trying for a big kick. He's still on Bisping, though, trying to get a late round surge. Does this steal the round for him? Because he was getting pieced up by a guy who was half conscious. Final round, Anderson lands a good high kick. It's sort of blocked, but it still has to suck. Big front kick comes out, and Anderson wobbles Bisping. Silva is looking for the kill. Bisping moving well, trying to survive, and near the final minute, Bisping changes levels for the first time in the fight. Can't get it. Despite being wobbled, despite being damaged beyond belief, he's still putting on the pressure, and he's still landing. And at the end of the fight, Michael Bisping wins a controversial, to a lot of people, decision against Anderson Silva in London. This fight is a resounding 9 out of 10. It's a great fight. Like, it's really good. It's almost a 9.5, and it's definitely not a 10. If it was for like a title, it's a 10, you know, because of the importance and all that. But it's a really good fight, you know. There's no like historical value here to really raise it up, so it's really just entertainment. That said, so I think 9's totally fair, honestly. But what about the whole card? You're probably asking that yourself. What about this whole card? Well, it sucks. I'm gonna be honest. That's my honest truth here. It's not a good card at all. 4 out of 10. Sure, you know, that Pickett fight's sick, and the main event's awesome. That saved this card from being the worst ever in retro review history. I'm gonna be honest with you. But that's it for me. We have a bunch more coming out on the channel with me. Hopefully about to shoot 2 more today. So be sure to check them out. And if you want to see me review a card of your choice, you should join the Patreon, honestly. Because when you join, you get exclusive content, early content YouTube doesn't like, which is always a fun thing. And as a small bonus, remember, all that's what you get for joining the Patreon. As a small bonus for being so cool and awesome, you can request me to review just about anything I can get my hands on. It's so awesome. I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you so much for watching.